let's just skip to the thing I'm most interested in talking with you about, which is Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson, which I will say, this relationship, prior to last week, everything I knew about the relationship seemed to come against my will. Like, it was very JoJo Siwa status, or very, the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni is another situation. Like, I'm not seeking out information. It's just...
It's a
Katy Perry concert or tour videos right now also sits in that space for me. And so it just kind of kept popping up, and I was like, it's like a gnat. Like, I'm not interested. I don't want to know more about this. I don't care about this. And now I genuinely care. And I found myself following the Miss Maine pageant over the weekend, which is a direct result of listening to the latest episode of Pablo Torre Finds Out, which came out before our shows on Friday.
Right.
So I hadn't had an opportunity to really sit down and listen. I saw the headline, and the primary headline was Jordan Hudson has been banned from UNC football facilities moving forward. And of course, then UNC comes out with a statement and debunks that.
Sure.
Pablo Torre comes back and says, listen, we filed public information requests. We tried to get more information. It's up to UNC how they handle this moving forward, but I trust my sourcing. I was intrigued enough to go down and listen to the entirety of the episode. He had 11 sources who have had personal interactions with Jordan Hudson, have firsthand knowledge of the situation. And I found myself listening to this podcast with Pablo Torre essentially laying out the story of Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson like it's a news magazine article. And I thought, is this the future of journalism? Because it was done in such an effective way. He had an audience, like a chorus. Katie Nolan was giving commentary throughout, and it was really entertaining. He had moments of reveals where, like, when you're reading through a really good long-form journalism piece, you gasp occasionally, and listening to somebody do it, I thought was really effective. And I saw he got some pushback on, like, why are you diving into this gossipy, page 6, like, BS? And he said, listen, like, this is a story of power.
Right.
This is a woman who is seeking power. That's what he has found. And there's so many salacious details to go through. But I thought the most interesting piece is that the likely reason of why they are slow to jump on their How We Met story isn't because of anything weird with where she came from. People were so quick to be like, is she an escort? Is she a high level this? No, she was likely 19 years old when they met on a plane. And so that is figuring out that she put an inaccurate birthday on a documentation piece in the UNC like database. I find that so interesting. And I find it just a testament to Pablo Torre, who did a tremendous job like researching it through. And I know we're quick to be like, it's just people talking about a goofy relationship story, but it really is a true sports journalism story.
It's a real story. It's a fascinating story. I, like you first hear Bill Belichick's dating a much younger woman. I'm like, okay, that seems weird, but whatever. And then it has turned into something different than that.
Yeah.
It's turned into like a thing that North Carolina is having to release statements about. The University of North Carolina is having to release statements about its football coach's girlfriend. Just stop there for a second. Where else does that happen?
Right.
I've never seen the University of Memphis release a statement about Ryan Silverfield's girlfriend or anybody's anything. It's just not. All of this is not normal. So when people try to act like, oh, it's no big deal, fine, no big deal. I mean, it's no big deal to me.
Right.
But it is wildly unusual and weird. And if I were in the administration at North Carolina, I would, I'd be concerned. And if I were running the type of podcast that Pablo Torre does, I would absolutely dive into it and do exactly what he did. Like, I listened to it as well. I listened to it after I'd read all the synopsis of it. And so I didn't really... I knew everything I was...
I had only read the headline. So, I didn't know the age.
Yeah,
I didn't know the story about the commercial. That was not the Super Bowl commercial, but another commercial where she essentially tried to write herself in and left set and came back in a bikini ready to be featured in a 7-figure commercial, and how that perhaps did serve as a catalyst of her ultimately being in the Dunkin' Donuts Super Bowl commercial with Belichick. The fact that her mother owned a sex toy shop in Provincetown, Massachusetts, and how her mom got in some dicey waters with the health board because she was giving erectile dysfunction shots that weren't maybe up to code. Like, it just all of that. And then ending with the kind of coup de grace of, well, the biggest thing for Jordan Hudson to lose in this she's concerned about her Miss Maine status, and she really wants to win Miss Maine. And
Like, even that is weird.
yes, and then he shows up at the Miss Maine competition, with
which
her
is also weird.
Well, he's a supportive boyfriend, Gary. I don't think we have to dive into Bill not supporting his very.
I keep this. I try not to be.
loving
I try not
relationship.
to be judgmental about other people's relationships because relationships are complicated and difficult.
That's
and
true.
All of that. I just think if you're 69 years old and you're you're already in the middle of this media storm,
Yes.
and everybody, even your friends who like you, are like, I love Bill. But like, nobody is like, even his friends are like, nobody's comfortable with this.
But the podcast is essentially showing that
nobody
nobody
says it to
exactly.
his face, though,
He
Gary.
has a
So
bunch
he's
of yes men.
got the group around, and they'll talk privately to Pablo, and they'll drop little unnamed sources over here and over there, but they will not tell him to his face.
I get that, but if I were Bill Belichick and I was just looking at a television and there's Charles Barkley trying to be as nice as he can be, but also saying, I am concerned about my friend, that would concern me. Like, why is everybody worried about me?
Oh, yeah. I found myself wondering, I'm like, does Bill Belichick have a phone with social media apps on it? Which he actually might not.
Right, he might not.
He might not.
But,
but he still has connection to the outside world.
Here's the thing. Like, I'll make this as simple as I can make it. Everything that's been going on with him, if my then girlfriend, who's 49 years younger than me, says, hey, remember, we got the competition this weekend, I'd be like, do we really need to do this? Like, I am getting killed out there right now, and I love you to pieces, but you continue to put me in embarrassing situations. That's an embarrassing situation to be 70 years old walking around with your girlfriend in a pageant. I mean, call me mean if you want to. That's weird. That's weird.
But
God forbid a woman have a hobby.
The true pageant
I'm
part,
okay with her having a hobby. Just at 70, you shouldn't involve me in your hobby. All right? If I'm 70 years old, I'm not going to watch you in your pageant.
But the true pageant part of this isn't the actual pageant. Belichick is the pageantry, I guess we call those people. I don't know. This feels very Dance Mom-esque, with her being the mom and Belichick being the little kid. She's parading around.
It feels like she is. That's exactly right.
That's what it is.
It is so bizarre and like all of it.
Yes.
Like but going back to the plane, like I'm on planes all the time.
Right.
I'm 48 years old. I am 20-something years younger. I guess I could do the exact math on it, but you get the point. I'm significantly younger than Bill Belichick. There is no scenario where I would start talking up a 19-year-old on
Listen,
an
it
airplane.
happens. It absolutely happens. I would say I've had an experience with an older, like where I eventually went to the bathroom to just get a reprieve because I didn't want to talk to this person. I didn't have headphones. It was a long story. But my friends, like, we share these stories that they happen. Like, when you are young, this is when I was when I was 18 years old, traveling, especially because I went to school in LA. So I'm on planes out of LAX, and you just find yourself seated next to weird old men who want to talk to young women. Like, I'm not trying to create an excuse system. I'm just saying this is a universe that we live in. So it's not, to me, all that out of left field that Bill Belichick talked to a 19-year-old on a plane.
Okay, I'll keep it simple then. If I were on a plane and there was a 70-year-old man in front of me and a 19-year-old girl in front of me, and I saw this 70-year-old man trying to hit on this 19-year-old girl, I would think that's insane.
Yes. It's absolutely insane.
Okay.
It's not fun. It's not normal. It is legal, which is why this whole thing is so fascinating, because 19 years old is legal, but it sits in that weird morality place where the spidey senses go up and we're like, ooh.
Do we need to make some tweaks to the age of consent? Like, should this not
No, because I don't want to make, this isn't a consent thing. Like, she knows what she's doing. Like, I'm not.
And by the way, I do think this is an important fact connected to all this, is that her
ex-boyfriend is also an older gentleman. Yes, I think this is very important.
Yeah, it just could be her thing on some level.
She also could be an opportunist.
Well, both things can be true. Both things can be true.
Sure.
Because you ready for this? There are other 19-year-old women who Bill Belichick, super famous Super Bowl champion, all the money in the world, could try to hit on a plane, and they would shut it down.
Yes.
Other 19-year-old women would just be like, no, this is like
yes, that's what we do.
I don't care how many Super Bowl rings you have.
Stop talking to me.
Yeah, like you're
Or here's
you're
hey,
70.
how about this? Because you're on a plane, so you're stuck. Like, that's the thing about planes. Listen, true story. He's not an older man, but like a man who one time incessantly would not shut up on a plane. I follow him on Instagram to this day, and he follows me because he took my phone and followed him, and I'm fascinated by his life, and he's married with kids, and it's a beautiful story. But it's one of those things where you're stuck, and you're just trying to survive the plane ride. Okay,
That's right.
I cannot explain to men what it is like to be in a seat where you cannot escape, and there is someone next to you who will not stop talking
You would love to
you.
fly with me. I won't
I know,
say a
shut
word.
up. I love it.
I
Put the
won't say a
headphones
word
on,
to you.
don't talk. It's a beautiful
I
thing.
will barely even look at you.
It's a beautiful thing. But I'm like, she could have had the book signed. You want to know what 99% of the girls would do after that, or young women would do?
That's right.
Never talk to him again. Like, wow, that sure was a weird flight that I had. What a funny story I can go back and
That's
tell
right.
my girlfriends over happy hour, over espresso martinis, and we're sitting and we're yapping, and it's like, I cannot believe, look at my book that Bill Belichick signed.
Right.
This is going to be one of those crazy stories that we talk about forever. And it's done. But instead it continues. And it continues and continues and continues because, like you said, with him showing up at the pageant, it adds fuel to the fire. Yesterday on ABC, we get an ad for a sit-down interview between
Right.
Bill Belichick and Michael Strahan coming Friday on Good Morning America.
Yeah.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but the greatest PR strategy sometimes
Shut
is
up.
shut up.
Shut up.
Shut
If I were advising Bill Belichick, I would say don't do that and
Yes.
shut up.
Yes.
And don't go to another pageant. And don't
Go dark until the season.
Yes.
For God's sake.
Let stay out of the news for a
It
minute.
shouldn't be that difficult.
And that's where, okay, so back to her. I think she might really be into older men, but also might be an opportunist.
Yeah.
Right? So like here's I'm kind of into older men, and here's one with $200 million.
Oh,
Okay,
gee! If I was into older men and could find one that had $200 million
Perfect.
versus one that had, I don't know, like $100, I think I'd take the one that has 200.
That's probably smart business. That's smart business. But like after everything they've been through, I just cannot understand how you could show up to a pageant. Like you're just inviting yourself to
Yeah.
get mocked again.
Yes.
I don't understand how you could do that other than he has gotten twisted up into a place that
It's really hard to get out of.
I think I don't want to say we've all been there to this extreme, but we've all looked up at some point and been like, whoa, this is a weird relationship I'm in. Like, well, how did I end up here?
Hindsight's 2020.
That's right. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying this feels so public and so extreme that the smartest thing all of them could do is just disappear
Yeah.
for a minute. And instead they're doing the opposite of that. It makes like going to a pageant and then jumping on Good Morning America.
Crazy
all
behavior.
is like weird, crazy
Yes.
behavior.
This has the potential to be up there with the Michael Jackson interview. Remember, like celebrities sit down and do
We
these
haven't
rehab
had one of
interviews.
these. I've been
We haven't.
craving
Michael
one of
Jackson,
these.
R. Kelly, right there on Good Morning
But I did
America
not expect it to
also.
be Bill
Who?
Belichick.
Who was Whitney talking about? Crack is whack. Only grown
Diane,
people do
was
crack.
that Diane Sawyer or Barbara
What?
Walters? The
Walters.
Britney Spears.
That was another good one.
Was an all-time classic. We used to get these all the time, and I know it's funny because you even were talking about the Dateline episode with the Idaho murder, the one that happened at the
Oh,
university.
that guy's in big trouble.
He seems like he is.
I don't know he's gonna get out of this.
I haven't watched Dateline in forever,
Right.
but I used to be really interested in those. That Dateline kind of like sucked me in. This Bill Belichick interview could suck me back into being interested by the big celebrity interview, of which we've lost the art. Like
Well, we
R.I.P.
did.
Barbara Walters. Nobody's doing it like her.
Oprah did it with
Oprah would
the
do-
light skinned chick, the royal chick. What's her
Meghan
name?
Markle.
That one.
Yes, we got a lot of
The
memes out of that
the
one.
one who was too black for the.
I thought we were going to get
the-
more with Oprah. I thought that was going to turn into a series. And then it was just Meghan Markle.
I thought it was just
I will
gonna be
say,
that.
Page 6, Daily Mail, whichever one, they have replaced all their Meghan Markle content with Bill Belichick-Jordon Hudson
Oh, yeah.
content. And that is a bad place to be if you are Jordan Hudson and Bill Belichick.
I just think this is the stuff that's always important. Like, if you'd have told Bill Belichick when he was 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, that in May 2025, you're going to schedule a sit-down interview to, in part, discuss your wildly public relationship with a 24-year-old woman who you just escorted to the Miss Maine. It'd be like, what are you even talking about? Like, that is not my life.
Just can't. I want to see his family group chats so badly from his kids, from his ex-wife, because I cannot imagine what it is like to watch.
The Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt, live every weekday at 8 a.m.